Welcome to 755 Live, about 5 minutes of what Jesus said. You can find a different command of Jesus every weekday at our Bible plan. Also, some instructions there on how to use that plan and just make Scripture a meaningful part of our lives. Jesus said, "Go make disciples by teaching them all of the commands that I've taught you, teaching them to obey them." And we try to do that by actually focusing on his commands. The Jesus Saids are just little sound bites of some of the commands and sayings of Jesus, just in a way that we can easily remember them and hopefully put those into action. Today's Jesus Said is from Luke 14, verse 12 through 14, where Jesus said, "Invite the needy to dinner." Now, this happened on a Sabbath day when Jesus went to eat Sabbath dinner at the home of one of the big shots of the religious day, a leader of the Pharisees. And everyone was kind of watching Jesus closely. We have to understand that this was a big deal. You know, you probably heard the phrase Shabbat Shalom. Sabbath was a big ritual in families and then also among religious leaders. If you've seen the series The Chosen, you've seen how rich the heritage and how important Sabbath was in the first century, and even for Jews today. So this was a big deal. This was a big Sabbath meeting. And so as people were coming in, everyone was trying to get the good seats, the seats of honor. And so Jesus started teaching about that. And part of the teaching that Jesus gave as he observed people trying to get the good seats is what the Jesus Said is from today. Luke 14, 12 through 14. Then he turned to his host at this big Sabbath meeting and said, "When you put on a luncheon or a banquet," he said, "don't invite your friends, brothers, relatives, and rich neighbors, for they will invite you back, and that will be your only reward. Instead, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind. Then at the resurrection of the righteous, God will reward you for inviting those who could not repay you." When Jesus said, when you put on a meal, when you put on a luncheon or a banquet, understand that in this context, he was at a weekly worship experience, a private social party for those who were religious. And it was an honor to be invited. And he said, when you put on something like this, when you do an event, don't have private parties just for insiders. Invite the needy, those who don't fit in, those who can't pay you back for your generosity, those who aren't going to invite you to parties of their own. Instead, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, the blind. He said, the reward is there. That's where the heavenly reward is, inviting those who are needy to the party. Private parties make us feel good, but that's it. That's the only reward we get. It's temporary. Our private church services, if it's just a bunch of believers together, makes us feel good, but that's temporary. When we invite the needy to our gatherings, when we invite the needy to our private parties, when we invite them to dinner, the rewards are eternal. And often we treat this command like it's optional, but Jesus didn't say, every once in a while when you put on an event, he said, when. One of our core values at Today Church is we're all about people. Everything is an outreach. Everyone has a place. And sure, we've done a couple of community meals here in Parker County. We've given to some homeless ministries and missionaries. But this command isn't about special events or ministry endeavors. So those are all good things. It's about a lifestyle of hospitality, welcoming guests. When we talk about a guest mentality rather than a visitor mentality, we mean we prepare for and expect guests, but visitors just show up. Are we ready for guests? Are we prepared for them? Are we inviting and expecting them? If someone important were going to be a dinner guest at your house, at our home, we would clean things up, put out the good dishes, or some of you might put out the name brand paper plates. We would do our best to make a good impression. Jesus said when we do good for the needy, we're actually doing it for him. We're actually doing it for Jesus, unto Jesus. That means that Jesus could show up at any of our events, at any of our private parties, and he might be represented as someone or by someone who is poor, the crippled, the lame, and and the blind. That's Jesus. That's what he said. Shouldn't guests be the VIPs? I was challenged reading this today. Who am I inviting? Who am I expecting? Who am I watching for? Who am I welcoming to my private little parties? Jesus said, invite the needy to dinner. Who can we invite to the best seats at the table today?